Hello, Dave.
Ian, how you doing, buddy?
I am okay. So I want to start off our show here, the little Apex adjacent, with me, Ian, and you, Dave, with a little bit heavy.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But I've been kind of mulling something, and I want to get it out there. So by the time this comes out, this is going to be sort of old news. But we're recording this on the 14th of April. And within the last, several days, there have been two more sort of, horrendous incidents with police officers and two young black men.
Right.
And so, the reason I want to talk about it is that I want to point out that, because these both centered around traffic stops, and I'm talking about Daunte Wright and Caron Nazario. In general, both of them were traffic stops.
Right.
So
right.
I think that sometimes lost in this, this is something we talk about all the time, but like you cannot separate this, or you cannot separate car culture from was happening here, because so many of these incidents, like Philando Castile, was also a traffic stop gone bad, right?
Right.
Because of the way that American life intersects with cars, obviously when there's other problems in society, those things are going to intersect too, right? So
right.
We should talk about these things as car enthusiasts and as people who are interested in car culture and how that intersects with American life.
Right.
I think
right.
that whole thing is a whole other discussion, which we should think more about before we have a whole discussion about it. But I just wanted to and I don't want to get too deep into this because there's a lot smarter people than us who have already said much better things. Like Trevor Noah had a really great video he released today. But really specifically the stop with Lieutenant Nazario.
Yeah.
So this was the guy who in Virginia was driving with a new car and didn't have license plates on. And then but he had the temp tag taped in the back window, which is, as someone who's actually bought a car in Virginia, I know for a fact that is what you're supposed to do. They give you the paper and then you tape the paper and that's it.
Okay. It's not like a weatherproof thing that you get like you do here in Denver.
No, yeah. It's printer paper that they give you at the DMV.
It has to go inside. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, because when I bought the Saab, I bought it in Virginia and I drove across country with that exact thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the cops, I don't know what happened. They didn't see it, whatever. Who knows? But he went less than a mile down the road to a well-lit area.
Yep.
Driving under the speed limit with his hazards on, which honestly, I've done that exact same thing.
Right. Right.
And I think this hit me pretty hard because I know I've talked on the show before about having been in the military. And I think I've even talked on the show about being treated very differently by the same people in and out of uniform.
Oh, so, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I know when I was younger, I think this is one thing that sort of frustrates me with people who don't understand what black men in particular go through with the police is that most even white dudes I know at some point in their life also were hassled unnecessarily by cops, right?
Right.
I definitely did, especially in Oklahoma, but even when I was, growing up in Michigan, I definitely got kind of, not anything. There was never anything violent, but definitely just hassled,
Right. Right.
And everybody knew what was happening. Like, oh, this is a hassle, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. It's like somebody has a chip on their shoulder. Somebody's on some kind of power trip. Right.
But at some point,
it's just playing out with me in this scene. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But there's like almost like an implicit understanding that like that expires at some point,
Yeah.
you know, when you're a white guy, like it just stopped at some point in my life.
Okay.
You know, and probably some of that was I was less of a knucklehead, but you know, there was definitely something to that. Like it just felt those interactions just suddenly felt different as I got older.
Sure.
But I will say that being active duty does give you this weird window into how people see, you know, people who might be threatening, right? And you know, usually young men are very threatening, you know, but usually, and I used to get this all the time, where I would go into like a gas station in my civilian clothes, and you know, I always looked a little out of place in Oklahoma where I was stationed.
Sure. Yeah.
And I just kind of got that like, you're not from around here sort of vibe.
Right.
But I could go in that same gas station the next week in uniform on the way to work, and it was a totally different.
Like you're met with reverence, or
just like the amount of respect that like a normal person would expect to get, you know, in a situation.
Okay. Gotcha.
You know?
Sure.
Like if I walked in to a gas station now looking like an older gentleman, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we will.
But yeah, it's just different the way that the world interacts with you when you're in uniform.
Just to kind of sum it up, I mean, you're treated better?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I just want some directional qualifier. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what really struck me about that video is having been pulled over many times,
sure,
both in and out of uniform.
Okay. Yeah.
I can tell you with 100% certainty that there were definitely times where I got a ticket when I was out of uniform that I would not have gotten if I
was in uniform. Okay.
And the other way, where I got out of shit that I way should not have.
Okay. You definitely would have gotten a ticket had you been civilian clothes.
Yes, absolutely. And so I just think that disparity between like how white active duty people are treated by the police and what happened on this video.
Yeah.
You know, that it's just like another like signpost of like that you could start there and extrapolate and just see what it's like to be Black in America.
Right.
And that I think each one of these videos is a signpost for somebody. This one was a big one for me because I lived similar experiences to that, you know?
Right.
So yeah, that's what's I've been stewing about since those videos kind of got released.
Yeah, and rightly so, man. I mean, it's awful. Like I think that like traffic stops are going to pick up, and these kinds of incidents are like they have a chance of ticking up, right? Which is awful, right? Not only are we more polarized, more charged, more like the racists have dug in their heels. The progressives have become more progressive. Like everybody's getting more polarized, right? And everyone is afraid of everyone else, right? And like people have never been so vilified in each other's minds in recent memory in American culture, right? And then we have the fact that like we're coming out of a pandemic, you know, starting to, right? When no one was going to the DMV, right? People were making cardboard license plates and it was fine for a while, right? Mm-hmm. I let my plates go, right? I had to pay the late fee, right? But like, yeah. And then I realized like, oh, you got to make an appointment and you know, it took the DMV some time to adjust to it too, right? So like, so there's this whole kind of like this big segment of the population that has expired tags out there right now that feels like they have a fucking target on their head because they keep seeing things like this happen and they know what it's like to be black in America, right? And I'm afraid. I'm really afraid, right? Yeah.
Well, that's what's so crazy is that like, this is an example of someone who literally did nothing wrong
exactly, right?
and had like some privilege,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is usually kind of afforded
Right.
when in these sorts of situations, and it still wasn't enough.
Right. Right. What's enough? What's enough, right? Yeah, like those words in the video that the cop said when he was like, the guy was like, I'm afraid. And he was like, you should be, or something like that. Like,
yeah,
that was fucking awful, man. Like, why? Why should he be? Like, this is a traffic stop, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just seems like, I mean, there's a lot of debate about like what sort of people policing attracts or whatever. But
right.
To me, it just seems like we're never going to weed out the aggro assholes. Right. So it just seems like the only thing to do is to just de-escalate,
Right.
And if that means that even if that means a few more criminals get away with stuff.
Right.
It seems like, an easy price to pay if the benefit is that the populace isn't terrified of the police.
Right. And also, let's put into context what you said, like a few more people getting away with stuff. It's like it's on the level of getting away with having expired tags for this is not like murder, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So like let's qualify some things, Well,
right? And the other one with Dante Wright, who was killed because a 26-year veteran mixed up her taser and her Glock.
Yeah.
The first kind of report that came out was that they realized that he had a warrant.
Right.
And it turns out it was a warrant. It was a bench warrant because he missed a Zoom meeting that was for another like nothing traffic violation.
Right.
It's nuts. It's not like there was no evidence. They had no evidence to support that this person was dangerous. They obviously know where he lives.
Right.
Yeah.
They
could have just let him go, got in the car, drove to his house doing the speed limit, and
right.
It's craziness.
Yeah. If you want to serve a warrant, right?
Yeah. It's so crazy.
I grew up around a lot of police officers, right? My dad being a cop, I saw the aggro assholes firsthand, right? Like I had a pretty, let's back up a little bit. It'd be, I think that you have a solid understanding of how sensitive of a person I am, right? I'm highly sensitive. It's just something about me, right?
You're my sweet boy.
I'm very sensitive, and to a lot of folks out there that means that someone can see something and I can see something and I would have a very a much more amplified reaction to it, right? Not necessarily like a trigger or something, but sometimes a word or something like that will really cut really deep into me and I don't know why. And I never really kind of understood this about myself until I was older and I was in therapy and and I just kind of started understanding that, right, as an adult and accepting it, right? And also I identified that in my father. My father was highly sensitive. He was very, very sensitive. And I can think back to times in my mind where we had interactions that didn't go very well because of one of our sensitivities, right? And I know that that police work is, a lot of people are drawn to it because it is an altruistic profession, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But also right? There's this big conjunction in this sentence is, and you've seen this in the military, right? Because the military is very similar in that you're serving a greater good, right? It's individuals making up a whole to make to idealistically make something better, right? Make something safer, right? Change, like keep things from being attacked, right? Like all of this kind of stuff, right? And knowing that the spectrum of individuals attracts everyone from somebody like my father, who's a very highly sensitive, very tender-hearted person, right? To someone that is just there because like they want a chance to kill somebody that looks different from them, right? And that entire thing, right? And I think that you said it in a tweet where it's like, well, these are individuals that are endorsed to commit acts of violence should it come to that, right? And there are people that are looking forward to that, and there are people that are absolutely not, right? In that profession, right? But they're given the same charge and the same capabilities, right? And so like it is in a society like we have where Black, brown, people of color, indigenous folks, they are more impacted by things like traffic tickets, traffic stops, expired tags, right? The hardships of getting to the DMV when they have, like individuals that work service professions, right? Individuals that have had to work in person through a pandemic.
Yeah,
right?
Sometimes multiple jobs.
Exactly, right? So in a world that is not catered to facilitating the hours in which they can get this kind of stuff taken care of, right? Mm-hmm. Like all of that builds up to these awful kinds of it's just keeping these individuals oppressed, right? And it's so hard to see this just bar that is set that it just like the DMV is not changing their hours. Like this is all kinds of things that could, yeah. I don't know. I'm rambling. Like stop.
No, I do want to. You touched on something there because you were kind of talking about like the police versus the military thing, and I think I've kind of talked about this before, but it's an important thing to bring up because I think in a lot of people's minds that have no contact with either one of those groups, like sometimes get conflated,
Yeah.
And it's so important to understand that you are totally correct that both of those groups or both of those professions sort of attract that spectrum that you were talking about.
Right.
And there's, so many different reasons that I heard from people about why they joined or whatever. And same thing, I'm sure from you, like you probably interacted with however many cops in your life and you probably heard just as many reasons for why they became cops.
Sure. Yeah.
But the thing is with the military is that the military is really structured to, with kind of like everything that they do kind of has in the back of their mind, like, just giving people this power, this autonomous power to use lethal force is really terrible. Like it's a terrible, terrible idea.
Right.
And so you have these really strict sorts of things in place. I mean, down to you don't have the same constitutional rights as a service member that you do as public. You're subject to a totally different set of laws.
Right.
The burden of proof,
court system. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Right.
And that is because we have several millennia of proof of like, hey, giving a bunch of young people weapons and just like setting them loose with no structure is a real bad idea.
Right.
And that's why I think like, Trevor Noah really makes this point really well in his video that he did about how the system is really working as it's designed.
Right.
And so I think that there is one way in which the police could improve by emulating the military, which is working to design a system that reduces those any points of friction between this force that you have given lethal force, lethal capabilities to, and the public, right? Like,
Right.
there's no reason for traffic, for like any traffic stop, basically.
Right. Right.
I mean, unless somebody's being very dangerous, like actively dangerous,
Right. Putting other lives in danger. Right.
then why?
Right. Right. It's not a safety issue. It's a compliance issue.
Well, and often it's a funding issue.
Right. Right.
It all,
great point. Yes. Yes.
it goes back to what you were talking about, poor people financing the rest of our lives, by through ticky-tack bullshit like expired tags,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's asinine.
Right. And then also, like, what did you mention earlier about something that in relation to like a smartphone or having internet access? I can't. Maybe I'm mixing it up.
I didn't, but I mean, that's another good point. Is that like so much of especially with COVID times, like
Yeah.
navigating COVID stuff without a smartphone is
There you go.
impossible.
Yeah, that was it. It was how are you supposed to find out that the DMV is appointment only and they're closed and all they do is have signs that point you to a website, right? And if you don't have a smartphone, how are you supposed? So then you have to figure out, talk to someone that does, right? Like all of these kinds of these stepping stones, and like you said, the system is working as it's designed, right? In healthcare, like, so my profession in healthcare, accessibility is looked at very differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me give you one issue right now, right? Like, so we can bring interpretive services into virtual visits for non-English speakers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Cool. On top of that, the service we use has like 40 some odd like audio video languages and then like another 300 audio only languages. And if if you know anything about Aurora, Colorado, it's an insane melting pot. Like there are some languages that are spoken in Aurora that service doesn't have. Like,
wow.
It's crazy, right? And so, I mean, we get to reap the benefits of having an insanely diverse like part of Colorado, right? Like, so there's great stuff, right, that comes out of that. But like, in order to get to a virtual visit, somebody has to click through a bunch of stuff that's only in English, right? And so like, we're trying to resolve that. We're trying to inject interpretive services earlier into this interaction so that they can walk folks through, right? That kind of accessibility, like in the healthcare sector, is something that like we identify and we're like, we got to fucking solve this, right? The DMV's hours are like 9 to 4:30, fuck off, right? You know? So like, it's a completely different mentality, right? And it absolutely needs to be treated like healthcare is, or, like treating everyone like that they should have the same access to those resources, regardless of whether they speak English, what their station is in life, what hours they work, right? Like that kind of stuff, like it really negatively impacts people's lives. And we get a lot of like super downstream, tertiary, and later effects because of bank hours, because of DMV hours, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, cars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just goes back to, I think that the critiques of, when people talk about systemic problems, this is what they're talking about, right? Yeah. We're never going to successfully change that spectrum of people that are working within these systems that we have, whether it's the DMV or healthcare or whatever. And so you have to change, you have to design a system with the expectation
Yes.
that there are going to be aggro assholes, and
There
there's
you
going to
go.
be tender-hearted people,
Right.
and you have to make it so the aggro assholes will fail and won't
And
get
face
the
consequences, right? Accountability and consequences, right?
but also you have to design a system that gives them less opportunity to be aggro assholes in the first place.
Exactly.
To infect others with their
Absolutely.
assholeness.
Right?
So anyway,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was what I was stewing about.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Car shows.
Let's do a zany car show.
Speaking of crimes,
Mm-hmm.
my buddy Jerry sent me a news article that maybe you've seen, Ian. Let me pull it up here.
I saw the headline, but I this is the first I'm going to get details.
Okay, so there's a man accused of stealing over $1 million worth of cars from Colorado dealerships.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs, the whole city that makes me itchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he admitted to stealing more than $1 million worth of high-end cars from Colorado dealerships over 2 weeks. He was basically writing checks, writing bad checks. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I feel like I know that victim blaming is really not in vogue these days. However, I feel like if someone who is a 29-year-old man, it says,
yep, Kyle, fucking Kyle.
First of all, if anyone named Kyle, no. If someone is buying a Porsche or an Aston Martin, these high-end cars, with a check, you don't make sure the check clears before,
right? Yeah, before you hand him a Porsche.
Honestly, I feel like you let him keep one.
Right.
Like, that's just, you got us.
Right. I mean,
you're gonna go to jail for a few years, but you'll have a Porsche waiting for you when you get
out. Right. Yeah, so then he rolls up to an Aston Martin dealership in the Porsche because we know you can't do it in a Tercel, right? And yeah. Wow. So, yeah. Outstanding. Oh, I like this. He was wanted on outstanding warrants from various places in Colorado, dating back to the beginning of the pandemic, Feb 2020. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Identity theft.
Oh, there we go.
Fun times.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, warrant for motor vehicle theft in Littleton. I'm going to be on the lookout for this dude. Yeah. So there you go. My buddy Jerry sent that. So thank you, Jerry. Yeah.
Well, yes, thank you, Jerry. I'm glad you brought that up because I would also like to report a crime.
Okay. Yes, I am. I think I'm aware of what this crime is, and I'm looking forward to hearing it.
So my ego was recently neutered.
And, a violent act was committed against your ego.
Yes,
assaulted.
Yeah, I am as the kids say, shook. So my 3-year-old, my toddler, he turned 3.
Newly 3. Yeah,
newly 3.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yes, and as a parent of a child having a birthday, I did what everyone does. I went to Safeway at 9 p.m. and made some poor employee inflate like 14 helium balloons.
Doesn't the floral department usually close way before that? That's where that
you can go find someone. They will do it for you.
Oh.
I know.
Those poor bastards, Ian.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. I feel bad. No, I mean, not bad enough to not go do
it. Well, yeah, balancing, how a toddler would react to not having balloons. Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm headed outside with my balloons, and I'm going to the car, and I'm under like a well, like I'm right next to the cart corral.
Oh yeah.
There's a big light shining down, and there was a gentleman who is employed by the grocery store, corralling up the carts to bring them in to the thing. And he sees me with all the balloons.
Uh-huh.
And he says, "Are you having a party?" And I looked at the balloons. And I was like cramming them in the back of the car.
In which Volkswagen were you cramming them in?
In the all-track.
Okay.
So I'm cramming in the back of the car, and I'm like, yes, I'm having a party.
Right.
And he asked me, the next words out of his mouth were, "How old is your grandchild turning?" Now,
YouTube viewers,
you know why he said that. For audio only listeners, I am a 38-year-old man. I guess technically would be old enough to have a grandkid, but I mean,
yeah, that would be gross if that
things would have gone poorly for me in high school. I think, if that were the case. Was not super thrilled.
I loved your tweet that said like
I said in lieu of flowers, just send some fucking moisturizer, I suppose.
Oh, buddy.
Why do people say insane things to me? Like, I don't know if I just have a face that says, please remove the filter between your brain and your mouth and say things to me.
Especially when it comes to your appearance, right? Because I think both of us have insane shit said to us, right? But I think for you, they lean in on your appearance for some reason, which I don't get, because you're a handsome man, and you're just out there living your life, being a handsome dude.
Handsome, like I could star in an AARP commercial.
Wait, didn't I see you in a reverse mortgage commercial? Every time
I thought they were trying to steal my home, but it turns out they weren't.
Every time I see Ian, I want oatmeal, and I'm concerned about my blood sugar.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you, but people say insane things to you about your hair, about you. They misgender you at the hardware store.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if anybody can roll with it, I know my buddy Ian can.
Yeah. I mean, I did laugh a lot when he said that. But
did you tell him you were 38?
I did not. No. I said my child is turning 3.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Man, you're going to be tired with all that." No, he didn't say anything. He was just, I think he was using it as a jumping off point to talk about his grandkids.
Ah,
I think he was excited to talk about his grandkids. But Right.
You know what? I never would have thought about him being excited to talk about his grandkids, so he's trying to connect to you.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And he's like, "There's someone with white hair and balloons."
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then what was my response to you? I said that person has definitely asked an overweight woman if she was pregnant.
Yes, I agree. Very similar energy. Very similar energy.
Right? Oh, yeah. So, Ian.
So I was gonna write like an FMK cars with some sort of like getting old twist. But
sure.
I didn't take my Metamucil this morning, so I didn't have the energy.
You didn't have time to sit on the toity and think about it. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know where to go with that.
So everyone, just send depends to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there an elderly class in kart racing that we could get you into?
The senior class.
Yeah.
The master's class.
Yeah.
That's what they used to call it in ski jumping, the masters.
Nice. When I was cyclocross racing back in the day, senior men's was anything over 35. And I was like, fuck you guys. Kids, I don't want to race with you anyway. Yeah, try singing Bon Jovi in the middle of a race and no one else sang along. Yeah, that's what happens when you race with the children.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we talk about actual car stuff for a second?
Yes, let's talk about car stuff.
Our track day prep continues apace.
Yes, it does.
So it's gonna be yourself,
yes,
and PETA,
yes,
and me.
Yes, and anybody else who wants to join us, you're welcome to come to High Plains Raceway and and say hello.
Yeah, the Emic Volkswagen track day, but you can show up in any and everything.
Yep, it's free for spectators, and yeah. Otherwise, bring a car. Yeah.
So what has been going on with the Vigan?
Well, Ian, I'm glad you asked, because I have here.
Oh boy,
the bill from Mile High Automotive.
Okay.
Now you know how much this is, right? I told you how much I spent, but I just want to read some of the technicians' comments on the bill. Okay.
I wasn't aware that there was comments.
Yeah.
It looks like I'm distracted. I'm pulling out my bill as well.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So Jeff at Mile High. Mile High is the owner, Terry, is retiring, so they're going to be no more at the end of this month. I know, right?
A great indie shop.
Absolutely. Clutch indie shop. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So since Saab was, being Saab, they started working on Subarus, right? Mm-hmm. My coworker has a Subaru Crosstrek. The dealer quoted him almost $4,000 in service for like some leaky valve cover seals and like all kinds of stuff, right? $4,000. I told him to get a second opinion at Mile High, $829 for the same work, right? You want to find an honest shop? There you go, right? Yeah. So despite my cash infusion to them with this, they're still retired.
Like I said, I think I told you, I think it was nice of you to buy the owner a retirement present.
Yeah, right. So I had them bleed the brake lines and put in new brake fluid, right? The Motul 660, I think, right?
Yep.
Just because I had it, I'll switch to Castrol next per Matt's suggestion. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Matt. So install owner's braided brake lines. Yeah, PETA got me a set of good, good something stainless brake lines, right? Mm-hmm. Install owner's braided brake lines, bleed system with owner brake fluid, right? Technician comments. Had to use a torch to disconnect 7 brake line fittings due to rust. Line to right rear stripped and had been replaced before. PETA and I talked about this because I hung out with PETA. So, yeah.
So this is basically mechanic. Like this is the mechanic equivalent of per my last email.
Yes. And they're like, you want to know why the labor hours were what they are? Right. This is why, motherfucker. Right? Because your car is from Maine. So remove and replace exhaust, rear heat shields, and carbon canister. Customer supplied rear brake hoses, lacked correct bosses to attach to body brackets, backed with hose clamps to affix. Had to chisel rusted retainer clips off front and rear hoses to remove. Bleeder valve on the brake caliper broke when bleeding the system. Replaced because the caliper was made of rust.
Right.
Replaced left rear caliper, transferred pads and hardware, bled system using customer's brake fluid. So that was just for the brake component.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I almost wish that like cars could report back to you.
Right.
They could just tell you like who was kind to them and who swore at them a lot.
Right.
And I feel like
like a black box, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I want also not just a recording, because that doesn't. I want the car's like reaction to it as well.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay.
how they felt. You know, like a child telling you about like a fight they had on the playground.
Okay, okay.
You know?
So like the car's perspective, like I don't know
Yes.
why, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm doing the best I can. Then they take a torch to me. Look,
They moved me to Maine.
right, right.
The roads are made of seawater. I was basically a fucking rowboat.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So I have a lot of work done on the Saab, a lot of the heavy stuff, the timing chain, balance chain, all that stuff. I do have that I would like to get done before we do the track day. The AC system has been properly discharged, so we're not venting that stuff into the atmosphere, right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to remove all the AC components to free up breathing to the radiator, right?
Okay.
Can't be a bad thing for that car.
No.
And then also I ordered those inlets to replace the fog lights so I can pipe some hosing to the brakes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I ordered that, the hosing. Oh, and I ordered some static cling blackout film for the sunroof. So since that was in the headliner, I don't have the sunroof cover anymore. So I roast in the Vigan when it's sunny out.
Mhm.
So yeah. So for me, the like million billion watt bulb of the sun, like yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Smart.
So yeah, so that's, and then I need to get an alignment this week sometime, but it's gonna snow and it's gonna be cruddy. So we'll see if I can get in to get an alignment before we go.
That's my fault because I asked my mechanic to put my summer tires on. So
Yep. Thank you.
that's my fault.
I had the all season switched. I got rid of I took the winter tires off of Luther. So yeah, it's both of our faults. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The rule in Colorado is you wait until May, but we don't like to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what technician comments did you have from the Volkswagen, from the R32?
I had so basically I found kind of a performance oriented shop in town that specializes in Audi, Volkswagen, and some BMW and Porsche stuff. So I had asked them to take a look specifically at the brakes. I will say that between me kind of talking about it on the show and getting in at the mechanic, I did drive it in the mountains and got the brakes kind of hot again for the first time since I had
Okay.
track.
Yeah.
And honestly, by the end of that drive in the mountains, they started to feel a little bit better. Like,
Okay.
it was still a little longer than I like because I like a pretty grabby pedal. But they did feel better after I got them hot again.
Okay.
So I think it's just, as it is always with this car, like a bit of temperature management. I think maybe I just got them too hot and cooked off some brake fluid, or I had a little air in the system or something, but they don't feel bad at all. They're just, the pedal's a little longer than I was expecting with brand new pads and all that. So
Gotcha.
and they confirmed that. So they looked at the brakes and took it for a drive and they're like, it's fine. Pedal's a little soft, but it's okay.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Crisis averted.
Whew, okay. Okay.
So they are putting, I'm also getting Motul 660 because I had asked about the Castrol stuff after we talked to Matt.
Yeah.
They're a Motul shop, so they had that on hand. So like,
okay.
let's just do that. But I did have quite a bit of just rubber shit that's broken.
Right.
So like, both sway bar and links in the front were defective, so those are getting replaced.
Okay.
Steering boot, the steering rack boots and clamps.
Oh, ugh. That's a nasty
bad
job to replace because you got to pull tie rod ends. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Strut mount bushings, and I knew those were bad because they were squeaking when it was cold out. And I was like, I'm gonna have to do that. And they
those the uppers?
Yeah, the uppers.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
And the drive shaft guibo.
What is that? Like PETA told me about that. Yeah.
It's like a little rubber.
Yeah.
thingy.
connector thingy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. PETA told me about that. Yeah. Hearing
Yeah,
him say
well-
Guibo in Mainer's pretty cool.
So doing that as well.
Nice.
So yeah, so more than I was hoping
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, that stuff adds up real quick.
But I so like I'm trying to make this more track focused, so really kind of go through it, and so I think we're just kind of getting it to a baseline,
Okay.
and then we'll move on from
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's good moves. Good moves. So then you'll supercharge it next season? No.
there. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Depends if Mr. Netflix calls.
There you go, right? Yeah. I had the honor of going up to see our good buddy PETA and helping him get his BMW ready.
Oh, that's awesome.
He is doing tons of work, and it's looking so good. His car is going to be so dialed. But he replaced his clutch and pressure plate, right? So that means transmission out. And I went up the hill to help him put his transmission back in.
Wow.
An E36 transmission, if you Google E36 transmission install help, the first thing you see is like a Bimmer World forum where like somebody's like, help, right? So we kept getting the transmission about an inch before it was fully mated. And it was flashbacks to like when we were underneath the Maserati at Road America doing that on your dad's first, the red one, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in the back kind of lifting and pushing, and PETA's kind of twisting so that the splines line up, right?
Mhm.
And we tried, couldn't get it, took a break for dinner, did some Googling. PETA redid the clutch and pressure plate with the alignment tool, just sanity check, right?
Mhm.
And then we tried it again. It didn't work. And it's getting late. It's getting towards like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And we're working outside in like 40 some odd degrees,
Oh, that's
laying on
miserable.
cold concrete, right? And then then we're trying, and like I lift up the back just a little bit, and we feel it like move in like a half an inch, right? And it was like, oh, and I was like, oh, look, we need to pick up the back just a little more. And then like PETA's like, fuck yeah. And it just like, like that magic moment, right?
Yeah.
That feeling that you get from like that magic moment, because it's either happening on that garage floor or you're towing the whole car to a shop, right?
Yep.
Where they're going to have just as hard of a time putting it back in as you. They're just going to have it over their heads, right?
Right.
And so like, man, I got that feeling that I've been missing for so long.
It's such
Like
a satisfying clunk.
Right? You can't buy that feeling, right? You
Right.
can't purchase it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that Maserati time, I think about that all the time, because it was like, I still remember in the bay next to us, the team with the BMW that did a complete engine swap
Yes.
in the time that it took us to replace the clutch.
Yes. Right?
And like everything fought us on that. Like everything. It was just one of those times where like, getting the starter motor out was just such a pain in the dick. And then like, and then, but there was that moment where there was like 4 of us under the car, I think.
I think somebody had their hand down through the shifter hole holding, and 2 or 3 of us were
holding exhausts out of the way.
Yes. So yes.
Yeah. So it was like all hands on deck.
Yes.
And we fought it seemed like forever. And then just finally, like it was like we had a Ouija board.
Yes.
We all moved at the same
exact same direction, like
without talking. And it just clunk.
Yep. Right?
And we were just like, holy shit, who has the bolts?
Right?
Nobody move.
Right? No one drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fantastic to see PETA again. It was a true pleasure to help him put his transmission back in. Yeah, so I'm so looking forward to our track day. We're gonna have such a good time.
Man, me too.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah. We need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ian, do you know what you need?
What do I need?
You need 1 or 2 license plate games.
Ooh, I do need a license plate game.
You know? Yeah, there you go.
For anyone who hasn't seen this, this is where Dave takes pictures or gets pictures sent to apexadjacent@gmail.com or texted to us at 720-515-1391.
Boom. Got it. Yeah.
And he presents me with 3 cars with the license plates blacked out. And then he gives me the license plates, and I have to match the license plate to the car.
Yep. There you go. So I have I have one from our buddy Jesse, and I have one from Aaron as well. Okay, so let's do Aaron's first because there's a little bit of a story with this. Okay, so before I give you this, I'm going to read Aaron's story about it. Right. So, Aaron sends us stuff all the time. He sees banana stuff, right, in Wisconsin. So thank you, Aaron. So his family owns a drapery workroom in Milwaukee. Okay. So these cars are going to be his mother's, his father's, and his. All right.
Okay.
And I think that's about all I want to say right now. Okay. And so they're all themed for this family business.
Okay.
What
sort of business is it?
It's a drapery workroom. So drapes, window treatments, Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yes. So let's see here. Let me get the folder up. And here we go. All right, Ian. Here is the quiz. All right. So first up, you have a reddish maroonish Dodge Caravan that we've all seen, right? This ubiquitous minivan. We have a maroon or kind of more wine-toned PT Cruiser. And then we have a Volvo, that's the V70?
Yeah, the V70 Cross
Country, right? Yes. So, and the license plates are. Give me the rundown.
Installer, so INSTALR. Drapery. DRAPRY. And MJKDWI, which I don't magic.
So that's his father's initials and the name of the organization or the company, Drapery. It is Designers Workroom Incorporated. Okay. And he got in front of the DWI reference because driving while intoxicated. Yeah. He said it's OWI in Wisconsin, operating while intoxicated.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So which one of these cars is the installer? Which one is his father's with his dad's initials and the business? And then I'm going to guess mother's with drapery.
I'm not going to lie. I think if I saw the drapery one, I would think I would be very confused by that if I didn't know that draperies were involved.
Okay.
And I would maybe go to a veterinarian who specializes in birds.
Okay.
Dr. Apiary. That's just how my mind works because I'm an idiot. All right. Okay. So what did you say? So the installer is he tells you whose plate it goes with. So who owns each plate? So he owns installer. His dad owns his initials with the.
Maybe I shouldn't have told you that piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, So I think installer Ooh, I don't know. This is tough.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think installer, I'm just going to go off of context clues with the installer being the Volvo because there's a bunch of shit in the back of it.
Right. There you go. Okay. I can see why you would say that. Yeah.
And it's a good practical car for someone lugging around tools and window treatments, I guess.
Yeah.
And ladders, probably.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to say, very. I'm guessing that. I'm going to say that the minivan is the initials,
Okay.
and drapery is the PT Cruiser.
Okay. All right. Would you like to change your answer?
Yes, I will swap the Volvo and the minivan.
Oh, don't make it worse, buddy. Don't make it worse.
No!
That's okay. So you got
No. Okay, so the PT Cruiser is the initials.
Uh-huh.
Installer is the Volvo, and drapery is the minivan.
Yes, you are correct.
Oh, wow.
Aaron also adds that his dad loves the PT Cruiser, and it's his second PT Cruiser.
Yeah.
PT Cruiser fans, man. Yeah. It runs deep.
They are die hard. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So thank you, Aaron, for sending that in. I'm going to get a hold of you about sending you something from the Ohote store.
Yes.
Right?
That was a tough one.
It is, right? Yeah. Well, buckle up, Ian, because guess what? Our buddy Jesse has to walk through airport parking garages all the time. So you know you're going to see insane bullshit when you have to do that. Mm-hmm. Right? All right. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Here's Jesse's quiz for you. First up, I want you to describe the cars, Ian. I want you to describe the cars.
Okay, so this is amazing. There's a Pontiac Trans Am, the last gen Pontiac Trans Am. I would say it's WS6, but I'm not entirely sure. It has the quad exhaust. Man, Donnie's gonna yell at me so much, but it has an insane wing on it.
Right, I have no idea what that wing is. Okay,
there's no way that's stock. That upper wing. I don't think it is.
I don't know if you know how crazy America is, Ian.
Yeah. And then there's a pink.
Yeah, it is pink. Yeah, it's kind of hard to come across, but it is definitely a pink car.
Land Rover LR4.
Yes.
With some stickers, some cartoonish kind of stickers in the back as well.
Yep.
And then we have kind of just like a very boring white Mercedes C30.
C300, yeah.
Oh, C300, sorry. C300 4MATIC. No context clues really other than some dark tint.
Right, and you will notice that I kind of changed how I blacked out the plates on this.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that means there's license plate holder clues.
Let's see if I can zoom in. Just that they are different than what you would typically see. Right?
Yeah, is that like sparkly on the Trans Am?
Kind of, yes.
Okay. And then the Land Rover one looks like a Land Rover dealer plate. Or dealer license plate holder.
And then I can guarantee and verify that the Mercedes one was absolutely bedazzled, or the fake gemstones that you get at Pep Boys.
Okay.
All
right. So now on these license plates.
Yeah. Ian.
Can you?
Yeah. Let me zoom back out here. Yep. Okay. Now the plates, Ian. For these cars.
The first one is YOLO Girl.
YOLO Girl.
YOLOGRL. YOLO Girl.
Yep.
For anyone who doesn't know, Dad, YOLO means you only live once. Then there's Geek Squad.
And YOLO is normally something you hear someone say before they do something dumb, like YOLO, and then they like fall off of like a rooftop patio with a mimosa in their hand. Right. Because they were like dancing on the table or something.
Right. It's the thing most often said before someone dies in a tragic selfie accident.
Yes,
Like
it's the
stepping backwards off a cliff.
yes, it's the brunch equivalent of hold my beer.
Oh, watch this.
Yes, yes. Hey, watch this.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. And then the last one is Superstar, SUPRSTR, or a poultry enthusiast who just really likes to talk to poultry.
Uh-huh.
Sup, Rooster?
Did you read the middle one? Did you read Geek Squad?
I did. I read Geek Squad.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Oh, I guess I didn't. Maybe I didn't. Geek Squad. Yes. Was the
Yeah.
other one. Okay.
Geek Squad. Mhm.
Okay. So
if you get this, I'm going to be very impressed.
I mean, I think the easy thing to do here
Uh-huh.
is to give immediately YOLO Girl to the pink
Okay. Sure.
to the pink Land Rover.
Okay. All right.
However, I don't think I think that is a trap.
Really?
I think it's a trap. And I think YOLO Girl is the Mercedes.
Huh. Okay.
Because
All
I
right.
think it's like a newer car.
Okay.
And I think it means more like it's more in the context of like splash out. Let's
Okay. Okay. Treat yourself kind of context, right?
yes.
Okay.
And so I think Superstar is the Land Rover.
Huh. Okay.
And I think Geek Squad is the Trans Am, because I think we all know the IT guy who would think that wing was a good decision.
Right. 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 Locked and loaded final answer?
Yes.
Well, Ian, I got bad news for you. You got them all wrong.
Damn it.
You should have trusted your gut. YOLO Girl's a pink ass Range Rover, living large, man, and loud
I
and in
know.
your face.
This was my first thought.
Yeah,
This lineup right here.
the,
And I didn't do it.
the Geek Squad Superstar one, like that, I could have sworn that Geek Squad was on the Trans Am.
Really?
Yeah, but nope. Geek Squad's on the Mercedes Benz, and Superstars up on the Trans Am. Yep.
That was a tough one. Because I always feel like people are trying to trick me. Like I overthink it, you know?
You do. And you do the same thing with your fantasy F1. You get in there and you noodle and
I
you
do.
you,
That's exactly what
you
happened.
tinker. Ian, you got to trust your gut, man.
I know.
You just got to first instinct, man. First instinct. Yep. If dumb public school standardized tests taught us anything, Ian, it should be that. Right?
I love how people just like lean into their personalities.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, I mean, YOLO Girl on a pink Land Rover.
Yeah.
You know this person.
Right. Yeah. And yeah.
You know that they stand outside of a, you know, somewhat middling restaurant for brunch for hours.
Right. Right. That person has said, woo, in the last 12 hours, guaranteed.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
So there you go. So thank you, Jesse. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse and Aaron. Those were fantastic.
Absolutely. Yes. So I think that might just about wrap up what we got to talk about, buddy.
I have one last thing.
Oh, yeah?
And this is a good segue because, you know, we've talked a little bit before about how the danger with this game is you could really get into some stereotyping.
Yes. You know? Yes.
Which I do. But it's fun stereotyping.
Yes.
And I saw a plate the other day that I think is very funny. And it's funny to me because it got me thinking about like how it wouldn't work with any other type of car.
Oh,
So
okay.
Go ahead and In the current show folder, you can see that I've used.
I think I know which one this is.
my my typically great file names.
There you go. Alfa Romeo Giulia, that nice blue color, with a license plate that says Luigi,
right?
But spelled Luigy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just like, I chuckled when I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was thinking, like, there's no way that would be. You couldn't do that with a German car.
Right. Right.
Right. Or even like a Mini Cooper. You couldn't put a Nigel license plate on a Mini Cooper. It wouldn't be as.
Right. Endearing. It's not as funny. Yeah. You don't hear it in that voice, right? Because when you see that plate on this car, you hear the voice, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we've all just decided that that's okay with Italians and nobody else. And I'm fine with it.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I just thought it was an interesting phenomenon that you could do that with an Italian car, but no other car would that be acceptable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If there was a BMW with like a Dieter, license plate, it's just not as funny. Yeah.
No.
Doesn't make me as happy. Yeah.
No. Well, and if I saw like, I mean, I think if you did that with like a Japanese or Korean car, you'd be like, oh, right? Like it would come up with a totally different energy.
Right. Right. And on like a Camaro, you just like if it was Chad, yeah. Yeah. Right.
You'd be like, oh, that's that person's name.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
That is their name on that license plate.
Right. Right. Exactly. Luigi. I love that. That's great. Any like vanity plate that makes you do a hand gesture. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Where did you see that at? That's great.
That was by the we went to the Jenny and I had like a lunchtime with no children.
Yeah.
And so we went to City Park and had a little picnic.
Oh, nice, buddy. Nice.
Yeah. And it was parked there.
Nice. There you go. Right on.
Yeah.
Luigi.
I see you, Luigi.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you, Luigi, for coming in to make our days better.
Mm-hmm. I think we done did a car show.
We did, Ian, unless you have any more 1-star iTunes reviews to read us.
I mean, I feel like after the intro to tonight's show, we will definitely have some more 1-star iTunes reviews complaining about woke snowflakes.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah, thank you, assholes, for identifying yourselves, right?
But joke's on you guys. We never intended to have lots of listeners.
So leave us an iTunes review that's something other than 1 star. We'd appreciate that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A bonus if you leave a 5-star review that calls us woke snowflakes.
There you go.
If you do that and you can prove it's you, we will send you a sticker.
There you go. I like that. Yeah. Thank you. So 720-515-1391.
ApexAdjacent@gmail.com.
Yes. Twitter. Yeah, tweet at us. Do all the things.
Stay safe, everybody.
Absolutely.
We love you. Goodbye.